Welcome everybody back to the channel, and welcome back to yet another episode review video for last night's episode of Fear the Walking Dead. This was Season 3, Episode 5, entitled Burning in Water, Drowning in Flame. Now, without further ado, this will contain spoilers, okay? So just don't be mad at me in the comment section below if you guys get pissed off, okay? Just, you're forewarned, It's an episode review video. It is what it is, right? So just want to throw that out there. Now, with that being said, I did put a prediction video for this episode back on Thursday, so if you guys want to check that out, link will be in the description below. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this. I thought last night's episode was absolutely great. I thought it was wonderful. I thought it was a really good episode. I thought it was a solid episode, and we usually don't get that about 5 episodes into a season, whether that honestly be The Walking Dead or Fear the Walking Dead, or really any other series for that matter, you know what I mean? Like, usually the really good episodes are like the beginning of the season and near the end of the season, and then sometimes we're just, a filler, and then mid-seasons and premieres in the mid-seasons. Those are usually the really good episodes, but I thought episode 5 here was actually really solid. I really did. We started off the episode with basically an introduction to why this house got caught on fire, and it's basically because a man woke up in the middle of the night to his wife basically turned into a walker. Shows she died in her sleep, or, something happened like that. And he ended up dancing with her and then blowing his head out along with hers. And then they fell into a candle, and that lit the whole place on fire. And that basically woke up the town, woke up the ranch, and got everybody over there trying to save the place, maybe see if they were still alive in there, because they didn't really know what happened, But nonetheless, it was sort of a beautiful introduction, but at the same time, obviously very dark, to a couple died there. But at the same time, it was kind of beautiful because, they kind of went out together, They were at it until the very end, I guess, is the way you could put it. But nonetheless, that's what happened. House was on fire, burnt down, basically. And, yeah. That's it. That's pretty much it. So the entire ranch got up, basically started hauling buckets of water to it and wasting a lot of water for that matter. And ultimately Jeremiah called it and basically said, they're already gone. Don't waste the water. We need to keep that. And very good call. You need water to survive, and you can't be sitting here wasting all the water trying to put out a fire and save people's lives who are already dead, right? You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense. I know it might not be the most correct choice in terms of people's feelings, but when it comes down to it, you need water. All right, you know what I mean? Unfortunately, you can't save everybody, and they are already dead. So it's definitely for the best in my personal opinion. I don't know if you guys agree with me. Let me know in the comment section below. But I think that was definitely the right call on Jeremiah's end. Now, with that being said, there's a bunch of things that happened in this episode. Alisha got together with Jake, which, let's be honest, I think we all seen that coming. And I think that it was kind of a special get-together. I think that she needs a relationship like that. I don't necessarily trust Jake. I think at this point I trust Troy a little more than Jake because we know what Troy is, you know what I mean? But Jake, we really don't. We know that he's a nice guy, right? But who really knows? Those are the guys you really have to look out for in this apocalypse. We've seen that time and time again. You know what I mean? We really have. We've seen that time and time again. Like with the governor, for example, he came off as a really nice guy. He was the town leader, and he was just a really nice guy all the way around, playing Michonne and Andrea, ultimately against each other. And he turned out to be a villain, a very psycho villain. With that being said, I think, Jake could definitely be up there as well. I don't think it's the best idea for Alisha and Jake to be together because that's what I think of Jake. But at the same time, it's a good relationship for Alisha because she hasn't really had anything in a long time since her boyfriend back in season 1, who, by the way, already died. So, with that being said, that happened. She got together with him, basically talked about some things that happened before this apocalypse, like poetry and, all this stuff. At that, we get to see Daniel and Strand basically on the road going towards the hotel that Luciana, not Luciana, but that Ophelia, which is Daniel's daughter, is supposed to be at, right? Strand told him that that's where she was supposed to be, right? But with that being said, all the way there, Strand was basically saying, you have to prepare yourself for the possibility that she may be gone. She might not be there. And honestly, that just made Daniel more suspicious of him. Ultimately, that storyline basically took it to the hotel, so we did get back to the hotel only to find out that the hotel has been completely abandoned or attacked. We're not really sure what happened there, you know. We have no idea what actually went down there. But everybody was gone, including Ophelia. Of course, Ophelia was never there to begin with. She actually ended up leaving their group and abandoning them. And, basically Strand was telling Daniel what he wanted to hear in order for him to survive. I totally understand what Strand was doing. But at that, Daniel really just got fed up, and he left him there at the hotel that was completely abandoned and infested with walkers. He rang the bell at the front desk there at the hotel, and then Daniel took off, and Strand's basically there at the hotel now, well, stranded. Lack of a pun, you know. I didn't necessarily mean for that to come together, but I guess it did rather well anyways. Nonetheless, though, he's there still, you know. He's fighting. He's trying to get his way out. Daniel basically said, I'd like to see you find your way out of this. And Daniel left him there with walkers basically surrounding Strand. He got fed up with his lies, which I don't necessarily blame Daniel, but at the same time, you know, you don't leave somebody there, you know, you really don't, you know. I mean, for all he really knew, Strand could have took him there expecting to find Ophelia, and then the entire place has been, you know, just sieged, right? Which is what it looked like. The normal people that we were used to seeing there, like the woman, you know, basically the leader and the owner of the hotel previously that told Strand to get out, is also not there. You know, the entire place is basically abandoned, and we have no idea what happened. We really don't. I'm expecting to maybe find out something else, because Strand, like I said, he's still there trying to find a way out. So maybe he'll run into somebody, and then we'll get an explanation as to what happened with the hotel. But don't get me wrong, I definitely don't expect Strand to die, you know, anytime soon. He's a survivor, and I think that he's going to fight until the very end. Whether or not he'll make it back to Madison, I hope so, because I'd like to see their characters interact with each other again, because I think Strand's a very important part to Madison. Not in a relationship way, more so as in a companion way, you know, because Madison's starting to see that side of Strand that Strand was always showing, and Madison's now showing that side. You know, she always thought that he was just a heartless, you know, bastard, to be fair, you know, for an example. And now she's sort of becoming Strand in a way, doing the exact same things that Strand previously did back on season 2 in the boat, and, you know, all of that. You know, she understands why he was like that now. And I think that's really important for them to get together. I think that they would be a pretty unstoppable duo if they could, you know, get back and get back together. Daniel, I'm not really sure where he's going. You know, I know he wants to find Ophelia, so who knows where he's gonna go? Where's that gonna lead him? Where's that journey gonna lead him? We know that Ophelia got found by Jake. We still have no idea where the hell Ophelia is, though. So there is a connection between Ophelia and the ranch. We don't know. You know what I mean? And that being said, that could be a hint as to what Jake's real intentions are. You know, he could literally be the psycho, and that could be the first step to finding out that he's the psycho. Nonetheless, though, that's what I think about that situation. Other than that, Madison and Troy, they went on basically a mission, you know, to find the people that went to look for the helicopter. They got basically to the helicopter zone and found out that the helicopter was actually dragged away. And then they got up to a new spot, basically, and found all of their men burnt in a pile, basically. You know, they were disposed of. And it was really weird. You know what I mean? It was really weird. We seen a guy sitting in a chair at the edge of a cliff, and he was basically saying these lines over and over again repeatedly. I thought that was really cool. I thought that was a really good addition to the episode, because it really goes to show how much the human can really survive through, like the average human being can really survive through, because he's sitting here in a chair constantly repeating the same line, obviously not conscious of what he's doing necessarily, but I think that he was probably just in so much shock, you know, as to what's happening, and he just keeps on repeating the exact same word and the exact same lines and everything like this. And there was a crow sitting on his shoulder, and there was a piece of his skull literally gone out of the back of his head, and the crow was eating his brain. So in a way, he was dead. Obviously not quite dead, because he was still mumbling words. I would say it would be like nerves, you know, like when you kill something, like an animal that you're about to eat, and it, you know, it's still shaking and stuff. It would be something like that. but I think he was a little more alive than that because he was still speaking. And again, I don't think that he was conscious at all. He just wasn't quite dead yet, you know. Madison put him out of his misery, and then we get to find out that there is there is some natives that basically want the ranch land back. So a native approaches their group that were sitting there basically dumbfounded by this guy getting his brain eaten out by a crow. Again, a really weird thing to see on like The Walking Dead or Fear the Walking Dead. We haven't seen it before, but it's definitely new and it's definitely neat, I think. We get to find out that these natives basically want their land back. They want them to abandon the ranch, ultimately. Ultimately, they end up surrounding them. Madison notices that they're basically surrounded on every single part of this land, you know, on the cliffs and behind rocks and everything like this. And the guy basically orders them, you know, send a message, tell your people to get off of the ranch, abandon the land, you know, abandon the ranch, and give us your boots. Not really sure why they wanted their boots, but it is what it is. So they took their boots, basically, and then let them go. So they had to make the entire walk back home without shoes. Their feet were bloody. There's altercations with Madison and Troy. Madison basically saying to Troy, you know, we need to take a break, kind of challenging him sort of on his leadership. And he took that as maybe sort of a threat. And in the middle of the night while they were resting, he took a knife to her throat. He didn't actually do anything because Madison was basically saying, you know, you're better than this, Troy. And I think that she's really starting to get get into him, really. You know, she's really starting to get through to him, would be a better way to put it. And there's actually even a one point there where basically she was confronting him about his mother, basically saying that she didn't love you even at her last breath. And he basically pointed out, you know, you're not my mother, but she is sort of acting like it. You know, I think she's sort of playing that card, not necessarily wanting to, you know. I think she's sort of playing that card because she feels that she might have to, because she feels that maybe he's a little more dangerous, you know, than the rest of the people there. Which is true, you know, he is dangerous. He took a knife to her throat, but I think that she's getting through to him, and I think sooner or later, all will be revealed with Jake and possibly even Jeremiah. All right, I'm hoping, you know, that's my theory. Okay, I'm sticking to it. You know, we always expect the unexpected. That's what I've learned from watching Fear the Walking Dead and The Walking Dead, for that matter. So with that being said, I mean, that's pretty much everything that happened there with, you know, Daniel, Strand, Troy, and Madison. They all made their way home. With Nick basically took it upon himself to start rebuilding the house that burnt down, which was Russell's house. Otto watches efforts and decides to pitch in on the ruins. Otto comes up with Russell's gun, basically says, you know, it's a beautiful tool. Yeah, Nick sort of saw that house as a mission, which I thought was pretty cool. It sort of gives him a purpose, sort of thing. And at the same time, he's still trying to sit here and convince Luciana, which is obviously his girlfriend, that wants to leave. His mother and his sister want to stay. So he's sort of at this impasse, sort of, you know, do I go with Luciana or do I stay with my family? And he's trying to sit here and basically talk Luciana into staying. And, you know, he's taken it upon himself to do all these things, like having a picnic inside of the house at night, and, you know, basically just having a night out with Luciana, just trying to convince her, being really romantic, and basically trying to convince her of the fact that those two old people at the very beginning of the episode basically stuck together until the end, you know, and that's kind of how their relationship could go if she decided to stay, I think. What else here? What else do we have? So, Nick mentions that she wants to leave the ranch. Nick mentions to Luciana that Luciana wants him to leave the ranch with her. Madison wants him to stay. Otto asks Nick what he wants for himself. That's when he took it upon himself to basically make that night out, the candlelit picnic, if you will, inside the ruins of Russell's burnt house. He talks excitedly about rebuilding the house and how beautiful it could be. Luciana does not want to buy into Nick's fantasy. Other than that, after that, basically, Nick wakes up to find Luciana gone. There was a note. We didn't really get to see what the note said. Luciana makes her way to the border. Alisha jumps into a lake, thinking that we all thought that she killed herself or something. And then she jumped into the lake, allowing herself to feel a rush that doesn't come from killing instead. And then the last scene, Otto joins Nick at Russell's house and gives him a revolver, basically saying every house needs a gun, you know. He says that if Nick finishes rebuilding the house, that he can live there. And it's definitely a possibility. I don't know what's happening with Luciana. I really don't. I think that Nick's obviously going to go after her. He deeply cares about her. He really... Thank you, Motorbike. I really appreciate it. Round of applause. I really think that Nick wants her to stay there with him. You know, she doesn't want that, though. She really doesn't. And I don't necessarily understand why that she doesn't want it. I mean, I think that it is smart of her not to necessarily trust everybody there, which I wouldn't either. You know what I mean? I would personally want to go as well. I think Madison and Alisha, I think they're the ones making the mistake right now by not wanting to leave as soon as they're better. That's just my personal opinion. I think that they should abandon that ranch, especially now since these natives really want the ranch, you know, back. And I'm pretty sure there's a war coming from sneak peeks and previews of next week's episode of Fear the Walking Dead. And with that being said, that is the end, guys. That is my episode review. I thought it was a very solid episode. If I was to give it a rating, I would say 7 out of 10, I would say. I think it was a very, very good episode. Like, it was sort of like a very good on average episode, if you will. And I think that it definitely could have been better in some things, you know. But again, there's 16 episodes per season, right? So they have to leave room for some things to happen in other episodes. I totally understand it. I thought it was a very solid episode nonetheless. I liked all the character angles that we took, like Troy and Madison sort of bonding-ish, with Troy also sticking a knife to her neck, and we getting to find out about the native that wants their land backs. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. And like I said, preview of next week's episode, it looks like there's a war happening. And Alisha and everybody's getting prepared for it. So thank you all so much for watching today's video. If you guys did enjoy, make sure you smash it up with a like. And of course, subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you all so much for watching my episode review of Season 3, Episode 5 of Fear the Walking Dead. This is Burning in Water, Drowning in Flame. Make sure you guys tune back in on Thursday for my episode prediction video for this week's up-and-coming episode of Fear the Walking Dead. This would be Season 3, Episode 6, entitled Red Dirt. I'll see you guys then. Take care, everybody. Bye. The reason why I'm getting an Xbox One is mostly because of past Call of Duties, previous Call of Duties, old Call of Duties that are now becoming backwards compatible on the Xbox One, which backwards compatibility is a big reason why I'm getting the Xbox One. So without further ado, this video, well, it's going to be talking about why I'm getting an Xbox One. Alright, so as you guys...